A warm welcome to each and everyone. Thank you so much for joining us again to this new Wednesday for our new webinar topics and new speakers as well that are with us for today. So we started a little delay for a few minutes because of some unavoidable things. So that's such technical difficulties, but we managed to definitely be here right now and deliver you the zip knowledge that we are bringing for today and the value that we aim to provide to the community in terms of sharing knowledge for free to each and everyone who's tuning to this live session and who will be watching this recorded session later. So Let Us Talk It is an initiative of the company Cogent Integrated Business Solutions in order to give back to the community and share free knowledge in different areas of expertise and bringing you speakers from different sides as well, different areas of business in order to share their experience along with the informations that they have. So to start off, we have the first topic for today, which is unlocking the power of emotional intelligence. So that's mastering the art of people skills. So we all have different personalities, so different wants and needs, and different ways of showing our emotions, navigating through this. All takes tact and cleverness, especially if we hope to succeed in life. So this is where emotional intelligence becomes important. So to deliver us this topic, we have Jesse Matthew, so who is a director at AAML AI Watanya LLC, and as who specializes in the delivery of management consultancy, human resources, and leadership development. So she has been contributing in human resource and talent development sphere in manufacturing sectors across Oman, India, and UK for the past 2 decades. She also holds a master's degree in business administration, specializing in human resources from Madras University, along with bachelor's degree in labor law from the New Law College. And also to allow her to give a little introduction for herself as well. So we have to bring Jessie uh, in front to deliver the topic and talk about a little about herself. Please,
Uh,
yeah.
Thank you, John. And John, can you share the PPT if you can do that?
Yes. Let me have the PowerPoint shared. Okay, sharing screen right now.
Thank you.
All right. Is that the presentation now? You see?
Yeah. You can see
Yeah,
that.
okay.
It's okay. I'll be using just few slides only because of the time limitations. You can keep the first slide itself. That's it. Okay. So shall we start?
Yes, go ahead, please.
So very good morning, good evening from Muscat, Oman. This is Jessie Matthew, and I have been an entrepreneur and a management consultant, as John has mentioned. So today's topic is unlocking the power of emotional intelligence and mastering the art of people skills. So let me start with an incident which happened to me in real life. I had an accident in 2014. My car toppled almost 3 times, and I was upside down. I was shouting at the top of my voice to get rescued from that very horrible accident. And what has happened, I was shouting, my brain was shut. I was not able to comprehend what I am doing. I don't know, somehow I calmed down. I started honking. I started praying that let God rescue me from here. I want to go back to my family. And when I calmed down, my brain started working and I started honking. Then I could see some footsteps and someone has rescued me. And one of an Omani person who came, he took me out of the car and he just told me 2 words: don't look back, just move forward. I mean, the pressure was on, but despite the pressure and despite the circumstances, I had a tool I could use. You see that I had the self-awareness of the chemical changes that were happening in my brain and the physiological changes that were happening in my body. I was aware of the fact what was going on and the fact if I didn't manage that I would not survive and come out safely. I knew what I needed to access my emotional skills. I needed to focus, I needed to breathe, I needed to have gratitude. I knew that if I did that, it would take me out of the car in one pace and get me to my family. So what I was doing, actually, I was practicing emotional intelligence. So emotional intelligence, it's not an oxymoron, I promise you. It is this unique human skill set that most of us don't know. And it's really the balance of our head and our heart. And it's that interesting intersection between our souls and science. And as a corporate culture consultant, an expert, my mission is to help people like you to love their job, love their life. I've seen what emotional intelligence can do. It changes life. It has changed mine. It can change yours. And it can make us happier. It can make us healthier. And we are better leaders. And we are better in our relationships. We make better decisions. And we are more resilient. And today, I hope you will go on a journey with me to master your emotions. And it is a journey none of us have ever completely become emotionally intelligent. So I am on that journey and right there with you. Can change the second slide. Okay. Today, I want you to remember 3 things about emotional intelligence. One is that it's very important. It's more important than we have ever realized. Our emotional intelligence matters for the world. It is actually a learnable skill, unlike IQ. All of you must be knowing about IQ. That doesn't change much over time, and we can improve our emotional quotient our entire lives, in our entire career. And the third one, it's actually rooted into neuroscience and biology. When you think about emotional intelligence, is it contagious? Aren't they? I mean, they're powerful, they're infectious. The entire energy of a room can change about in 3 seconds when a dominant emotions or ideas that spread the entire energy. Think about it in your own personal life, mentors, leaders, family members. We have family members that have great emotional energy. And then we know those people that have pretty rotten emotional energy, right? I mean, who do you like to hang out with and be around? How do they make you feel when they walk into the door? Some of the first studies on emotional intelligence was actually done by Harvard. So when you look at this, I have told you what is the basic difference? It is in the screen. I am not getting into the difference between the IQ and emotional intelligence or EQ. But when it comes to the studies, it proves us in a different way. Some of the first studies of emotional intelligence actually was done by Harvard. Harvard was sending best and brightest lot into the work. And they weren't succeeding. So like any other university does, they studied it, they researched it, and they followed a cross-section of graduates from all kinds of disciplines for several years into their careers. What they found was very interesting. They found that there are three areas that matter for success. The first one is IQ. No surprise. The second one was technical skills, like being able to drive or to be an engineer or to be an architect, also not too surprising. It was the third area that really surprised them, because it was the emotional skill set that mattered the success. What was even more surprising in the research, that the tech IQ and technical skills only each counted for about 8 to 9% of the graduate success. They were really more like threshold skills, just got them in the door. And once they got into the door, it was their emotional intelligence or emotional quotient that was twice the factor of success as their IQ and technical skills combined. So our EQ sometimes matters more than IQ and our technical talent. And what we were finding in today's research, if you are former leader in the room, or if you want to be a leader someday, 80 to 90% of our effectiveness as a leader lies in the emotional intelligence skills. But I don't think we are talking and teaching enough about emotional intelligence in our homes, in our schools, in our businesses. So we know it's important. So what is emotional intelligence exactly? Well, it is learnable. We absolutely can learn to be better with our emotions. And I like to think of it as a proactive journey to develop and show up with those characteristics that are deep within us and we know can change the world. And it's also a reactive and a responsive tool that allows us to show up better and manage the moments better. Perhaps maybe when you're trapped in a car or you're panicking for survival. So it allows you to show yourself better. It's also a journey that Daniel Goleman has researched for many years. Daniel Goleman is really considered as the father of emotional intelligence. And he wrote one of the original popular books. And in his research, he looks at emotional intelligence in two ways, two pillars, self and social. And when it comes to self, it is the self-awareness. You can take to the next slide. It is the self-awareness of our own emotions. We have emotions that we are spreading to other people, being aware of those emotions being present, having optimism, having confidence, being able to manage your impulse, being flexible, being adaptable, having personal drive, getting yourself together first. As even in airlines, they tell us to put our oxygen mask on yourself first before you try and help others. Now, when it comes to social, this is about stepping out of your own bubble. Now, being aware of the people around you and being able to connect, and it's the social connection. Work only gets done with others, and we cannot influence unless we first connect. And it's just that rare quality. It's a very rare quality in this world that it happens. When it happens, it's very magical. It's the ability to have empathy, to care about what's going on with somebody. And it's to care about somebody else's life, having compassion and caring. And it's a strong communication skill, especially listening. Nowadays, this is so rare. It's also being able to quote somebody, telling them the honest answer, and sometimes having that tough conversation. It's nothing surprising that inside all of us, it's really being able to show up what I call living in that gray zone. And it's the delicate balance of head and heart, the science and soul being able to show up with just right amount of what we need each time, depending upon the circumstances and depending upon the people. I know when I measure my own emotional intelligence, there's one particular competency called adaptability and flexibility. When I look at my business associates, they score me very high. But when I look at my family and my friends, they score me really low. So I have to learn to show up differently at the dinner table. And believe me, and then I do at the board table. Believe me, I'm still learning. And I'm learning that I need to let go of the right to be right. I'm learning that true empowerment means I always have a choice, and no one and nothing can ever make me do anything. It's my decision. I'm also learning not to take things so personally. People don't do things to you. They do things to themselves. So these emotional intelligence characteristics, they are what matter for our world. And so why it is that more people don't show up with emotional intelligence. Why don't you and I show up more intelligently emotionally? Well, it has to do with our emotions, especially which is negative ones. The science and the biology behind it, actually, we are hardwired as a species to look for negativity out of threat and protection so that we can stay alive and procreate. Let me explain it. This is this way, there is right now in your heads, there are two systems working simultaneously: our cognitive system and our limbic system. Now, both of these systems are in the front seat of your car, but only one of them can be driving at a time. Now, our cognitive system, this is really our executive function, and this is where we have creative thought, and this is where we solve problems. This is where we create and get new ideas, and this is where our technical skills, our IQ, and our emotional skills live. And this is where the good intentions come from. And this is mostly made up of from an area called the neocortex. If you can take two slides, next slide. Again, one more. It's a big topic, so I'm just one more. Continue. So where there is a brain picture. One more. Yes. So this is the neocortex, where really you'll see the red area on the screen. You can see that you see, I personally like to call it as the captain of our ship, because this is who you want to be driving your world and driving your boat. Neocortex, which is the captain of the ship. And here we are unique because no other species has a brain whose neocortex is as large as human beings. And we are truly only species that can create our future with good intention. Within our limbic system, the second system that happening in our head right now, that's more about our feelings, about emotions. And this is also where our survival instinct lives, specifically a place called amygdala. Say that with me, it's amygdala. I promise you're going to talk about this tomorrow. And it's really a kind of green area, which you can see, the red area, which you can see on the screen. Specifically, amygdala does two things for us as human beings. Number one, it holds all emotional memories, especially negative. Number two, it holds our flight and fight response system. That thing that puts us in the protection mode, that when we are physically a threat, we have physical threat or an injury. This system is older than our cognitive system, and it's faster than our cognitive system. And it will always trump our executive system and always trump our captain of our ship. And when this system is engaged, it engages less than a second. This is how it works when we feel threatened. Amygdala goes into overdrive and does its job by sending the stress hormones through the brain. And that's the chemical reaction that's happening. I noticed that in the car. Those stress hormones like cortisols, dopamine, epinephrine, adrenaline, what those are doing, changing physiological feel of your body in order to put you into fight and flight mode. The blood and the oxygen travel soar. And that's a good thing when you need to go into protection. It's not so good when we need to stand in front of somebody and have a conversation. When this cycle happens, the research from the Institute of the Health and Human Potential says we lose up to 75% of our cognitive ability in that moment. Essentially, our amygdala has thrown out the captain of our ship overboard. And I would like to call it as amygdala hijack. And this is what was happening to me in the car. I knew that I had a rational, reasonable thought, but I could get out of the car. But all I could visualize was myself trapped into all awful things, and I can think of, and I had an awareness of this chemical reaction that was happening in my brain. I had a tool to be able to not to have knowledge of that and impact that. But I think most of us are aware this physical response is nearly you miss a car accident, or you trip on the downstairs, or you get a phone in the middle of the night and you step onto the tight stage. But what we might not realize that how our emotions play into this cycle. So see, as human beings with heart and soul, each one of us has set of emotional needs. We need to have met those emotional needs. Maybe we need to fit into a society, we need to stand out, or to our social norms, or domestication, our ego, our sense of control, our need to have freedom. Maybe we need to protect the past trauma or our defenses or those past hurts. Anybody recognizes them. Most of us recognizes those hurts, which remains in our brain. And these are the blocks what we have for emotional intelligence. Anytime those emotional needs are not being met, either from us or by somebody, we are fearful. They are not being met, we go in the same reaction. There is a proper amygdala hijack, and that we have been chased by a tiger, or we go into the same chemical reaction when we fall or trip a step. We lose our emotional intelligence, and we are chemically induced stage of down. It doesn't take a car accident to do this. It's just a feeling of being fearful, feeling of getting angry or hurtful or feeling shut down. Because I also felt shut down when I had that accident. So it's very important to understand that our amygdala does not know the difference between perception and reality. If we are even thinking back to the past at that time, at a time when I met that accident or something fearful which had in my past, it can happen. This same amygdala will react in the similar manner, and it will make me into the fight and flight mode. I had the tools in the car to be able to manage through that. And this is the reactive management tool that I was talking about. It's not just proactively building the characteristic of emotional intelligence, it's also a responsive tool. It's practical and it's easy. Maybe it's not so easy in the moment when we have started today, but there are few steps I would like you to be developed. So it's basically step one, get breathing. You see this cycle, in this cycle, what happens? The oxygen and the blood left the neocortex and gone SAR to protect our body and give us extra strength by taking deep, slow breaths. We actually bring fuel back and back up to where it belongs. So our neocortex becomes the captain of the ship, and amygdala doesn't affect. The number two is get focused. Research shows we have 60,000 thoughts in any given day. Now we know that men can have one thought in 60,000 for 60,000 times. And of those thoughts, only 5% are in the present moment. Folks, we aren't where we are supposed to be most of the time. Learning to focus our thoughts and allow us to manage that back and forth cycle of negative thinking and how that impacts our amygdala. And when we are focused, we are in the best part of our brain, that is neocortex. Third is to be grateful. Since its inception, an organization called HeartMath has studied how gratitude and appreciation impacts heart health, physiology, and chemicals in the brain. When they discovered is that no other thought process lowers our rhythms, heart rhythms, to the healthiest rhythm and makes us feel calm as when we are grateful and appreciative, saying thank you, saying thank you for your help. When you think that thoughts of gratitude and appreciation, we actually reversing all those stress hormones, and we have released from the amygdala, and they are reversed into happy hormones and anti-aging hormones. And that's what I was consciously doing on that car, grateful for that Umani gentleman and others who helped me out and grateful that I was able to meet my loved ones at all, and grateful for those who did help me and make it out of that car in one place. And breathe, focus, and gratitude. It can be that easy now. You may not be on a car trapped anytime soon, but you will be in situations where you felt the same way. And you will have your own mountains to conquer. When you do know that you have a skill set that can get you through, that proactive characteristics that helps us to show us better for the world, and that responsive tool that will help you to breathe in that situation. We can breathe through anything. That's what we say in yoga, just like Dorothy was told from the good witch, that in the wizard, Dorothy, you had the power whole time. You just had to learn how to use it. So being a consultant and studying and coaching emotional intelligence, I never read a news headline in the same way again. I either can tell that somebody didn't have the emotional intelligence trait, or they had an amygdala hijack. Now, the behaviors that you show up with hopefully won't make the news headlines anytime soon, but your emotional intelligence does create the headlines of your own life. Imagine the world where every single one of us can show up with a character state, and we need more from this world. And imagine every single one of us, we are equipped with a tool that we need to be able to manage any moment, any accident, any fear, any anxiety, not because we don't want to feel them, but because when we deal with them well, we grow, we learn. That's the world of emotional intelligence. We can create the world starting with me and starting with you, and starting today will help us to create a world and spread emotional intelligence. Thank you. So we can take any.
Thank you so much, Jesse. That's really a wonderful presentation. So yeah, that's really a lot of slides, but yeah, you have only chosen a few of the good ones you want to share. So
yeah, because
like
basically it's a very, very vast topic, and I don't want to cover it fully. So I have taken gist of it.
Yeah, thank you so much for that. So, right, I'm checking for questions right here. So there's nothing, but yeah, we would like to entertain questions. If you'd like to share your insights as well, please feel free to unmute or just type it on chat. I can acknowledge. Okay. I think that was really a crisp and clear delivery of the emotional intelligence ability, and provided with like a real life scenario example as well. So that was really a great thing. So thank you so much for that, Jesse. So shall we move to the next topic? All right. Just Okay, so again, all thanks to the first speaker, Jesse, for delivering a wonderful presentation. Now we're moving to the next topic uh, for today's webinar, which will be titled "Leadership Lessons from a Naval Officer." So, building an adaptable corporate culture. So you heard it right, an officer, a naval officer. Uh, she has already retired, but definitely her title still remains. So this topic will explore how the principles of adaptability and leadership learned in the Navy can be applied to the corporate world. So, a brief about her. For She is she has a bachelor of technology in electronics engineering and post graduation diploma in business management from NITIE Mumbai, with 12 years of rich, diversified experience in human resources management, operations management, cross functional team management, and project management. Also, a seasoned HR professional with over a decade of experience in Indian Navy as a strategic human resource leader, having a global perspective and cross cultural experience to shape HR operations effectiveness, and has reached effectiveness, reach, and impact. So, we have here Lieutenant Commander Meenakshi Pandey to deliver us the topic for the leadership lessons from a naval officer and building an adaptable corporate culture. Please take over.
Thank you for the introduction, John. So, greetings to all. I feel very happy, excited, and honored to be a part of this webinar today and share my experience of serving in the Indian Navy for the last 10 years and give insight on leadership lessons from military. Speaking about self, I joined the Defense Services in December 2012 after quitting a very nice paying and peaceful job in the IT sector to take up something more challenging and rewarding to me. I joined the aviation cadre of the Navy as a navigator, wherein I was responsible for successfully navigating the aircraft, the wind, velocity, and other details. From carrying out the tactical missions to firing missiles, I have been there and done that. After a very successful short service commission tenure, I have hung my boots in December 2022, and now I'm venturing out in the HR domain in the corporate world. I joined the Navy because of my passion to serve my country and countrymen. I'm a third generation Fauji, so this was in my blood. I hail from a place where you'll find a Fauji in every fourth house. I did my initial training from INS Azimala, where a lot of attention is given on the initial grooming. The success of the tenure of the officer depends largely on the initial grooming, the induction, as we say so. It is the time when all the doubts in the mind gets cleared. It is the cradle of leadership, wherein inductee transitions from civil to military, a girl to a woman officer, or a boy to a gentleman. It is this training, grooming, that trains you for future operations and missions. Being in the defense service is all about leadership. And when I mean leadership, I'm talking about the 16 officer-like qualities that includes honesty, integrity, teamwork, discipline, taking ownership, sense of responsibility, organizational ability, to name a few. There is a very famous quote by Napoleon on leadership: a leader is a dealer in hope. Leadership is defined as the process of influencing people by providing purpose, direction, and motivation to accomplish the mission and improve the organization. Sounds very familiar, very similar to the term manager, which we use in the corporate world. There are a few differences, though, which I would like to mention here. A manager is the one who manages and takes responsibility of a situation. A leader, however, is influential and takes charge of the situation and sets an example. The manager has responsibilities and is able to delegate and implement plans. A leader is an example for others and someone who doesn't necessarily have a larger responsibility. Managers have subordinates who follow their rules. Leaders have followers who believe in what they say. And one very important thing, leaders focus on the human emotion and charisma to lead. Managers focus on the concise, scientifically proven methods to lead. I do not know whether leaders are born or leaders are made. There is a school of thought which says leaders are born. But if leaders are not born, then can leaders be made? I believe a person with general reasoning ability and common sense can be made into a leader. So this is a perfect time when I'm about to coin the term psychological dominance. It is a concept introduced to us in the cadet phase as a part of our officer grooming. It is a concept used by military leaders since time immemorial. It focuses on the traits that the leaders possess, the way they walk, the way they talk, eat, communicate, stand, conduct themselves, take pride in their uniform. That sets them unique, sets them apart from others. In a way, They psychologically dominate the mind of others, create a difference, and naturally become leaders. People look up to them as a personality, as a mentor, as a leader. Today on this webinar, I'm going to discuss some important leadership principles which I have learned through my personal experiences. The first and foremost is having professional knowledge and professional competence. I'm sure many would agree with me that one cannot be born with professional knowledge, even if you're the child of a teacher, minister, scholar, or prime minister. It is a constant study. One has to study the profession, be it doctor, engineer, an IITian. Professional knowledge has to be learned, and it has to be learned the hard way, without which one cannot be a leader. It doesn't matter whether you are an army, a corporate, an industrialist, a teacher, unless one has to have a professional knowledge and which has to acquire it the hard way. With professional knowledge comes professional competence. For your men to look up to you and follow each command at the peril of their lives, one needs to have total trust in your leadership and professional competence. The second attribute is leading from front. Taught to lead by example, leaders inspire their men to perform deeds of heroism and sacrifice, which often requires suppression of natural feelings such as fear. Leaders do not encourage their leaders by saying onward, but rather follow me. To accomplish this, leaders must be present at the forward edge of the battle area, so their soldiers will follow their example and respect the judgment, leadership ability, and tactical knowledge. If leaders follow the principle of leading from the front, they have to be physically fit and energetic to meet the demands of leadership on the battlefield. A lot of emphasis is therefore placed on being physically and mentally fit. So to ensure that, we do have compulsory morning PTs and parades. So initially, you just loathe it, believe me, but later on, as you grow senior in your profession, you're expected to lead your men from front, teach your men to be physically agile and super fit. You are a role model to them. One ought to be fit himself, irrespective of his age, irrespective of his seniority in the service. So we have regular medical checkups, and being overweight is not considered as a good sign of health and obviously leadership. So be it military or corporate, being physically and mentally fit is very important for being a good leader. The third attribute that I'm going to mention here is the ability to make up your mind, take a strong decision, and stand by that. Don't just pass the buck to your subordinates. Take a decision and take full responsibility of it. A lot of time, a lot of money, time and efforts are wasted because someone somewhere has not taken a decision. And by the time the decision is taken, the cost to project has escalated a lot. So who suffers? The entire team, and hence the entire organization. So be decisive. In any moment of decision, the best thing you can do is the right thing. The next best thing is the wrong thing. And the worst thing you can do is do nothing. In war, a lack of decisiveness can have fatal consequences. Once you make up your mind, stick to your decision, never show yourself to be indecisive. Next is absolute justice and impartiality. I have dealt with thousands of men in my career and understood this value very well. No one, and by that I mean no one, likes to be punished. And yet men accept their punishment when they know that if anyone else would have committed that crime, he would have got the same punishment. They take it straight. They may not like it, they may not like you, but they will respect you. So a leader must be absolutely just and impartial to all. Even if the person getting punished is your own relative, your own son, the treatment has to be the same. And when you do that, you do gain a lot of respect from your seniors, from your juniors and colleagues. Ladies and gentlemen, this is very, very, very important. We all have tremendous pressures. We have large families. We have father, mother, husband, wife, children, uncle, aunt, nieces, nephews, pressures from all walks of life. But most of us lack the courage to withstand that pressure. So that takes me to the next important aspect. I do not know which of the two is more important, moral courage or physical courage. I'm presuming here that the audience largely consists of civilians. So here I will lay my emphasis on moral courage first. Moral courage is the ability to distinguish yourself from right from the wrong. And for that, you must have the courage to stand up and speak up for yourselves, irrespective of your seniors, subordinates, and colleagues. A yes man is a horrible man. He may rise very high in position, but he will never be a leader. He will be used by his superiors, disliked by his colleagues, and his subordinates will have no respect. Talking of physical courage, fear is a very natural phenomenon. Everyone gets frightened, but it is one thing to be frightened and other to show it. Once, and just once, you show fear in front of your men that you're commanding, you must quit. The psychological dominance is gone there. Being an aviation officer, there are times when I was supposed to be carrying out drills which looks extremely dangerous and overwhelming. Example, jumping into the middle of the ocean from the forecastle of the ship. The forecastle of the ship is the front part of the ship, and swimming to reach up to the Gemini, and thereafter getting whisked up by the helicopter. So the first time I was doing it, I was really frightened. But the conducting officer there, he told us, look, if as an officer, and that too as a woman officer, if you get scared today and don't jump like any other officer is doing, you will be considered as less and weak and forget about giving them orders. The motivation which was pumped into me was so high that not only did I jump from the forecastle, but also did the drill so well that in the end, I was appreciated for the same by my conducting officer and the men around who were doing the drill with me. Showing determination. You are never beaten until you admit it. A leader must show determination even when others do not. This never say die attitude is necessary for your soldiers to be tirelessly persistent during desperate, bleak, and challenging situations. We all expect loyalty from our subordinates, but do we give them loyalty? It is a two-way thing. If we expect loyalty, we have to give loyalty. For leadership, you do expect loyalty, but for that, you have to give loyalty too. Remember, leadership is all about management of men and resources, and men have problems. They have real problems. They can be very nasty at times, and leaders have to be able to deal with them very firmly. Deal with them very firmly, but never forget they have human problems. Human problems of death, debt, family issues. Therefore, the leader must have a human touch and a sense of humor. A gift of gab to able to communicate with them and connect with them on a personal level. One has to practice empathy. Emotional intelligence. As my co-panelist spoke the importance of EQ in leadership, I here second that opinion. You got to take care of your soldiers. Incorporate your employees. Competent leaders preserve combat powers by putting his soldier first and doing the most to improve their situation. You gain the trust of your men by making sure that they are well equipped, they are well fed, they're well rested. So beyond meeting their basic needs, it is also essential to advocate and ensure that they receive the proper recognition for their achievements. We prioritize this as the mission, the men, and me. One of Alexander the Great's leadership quality was the ability to place his men first. After covering more than 400 miles in 11 days, Alexander and his soldiers were nearly dead from thirst. So some Macedonians had brought back a few bags of water from a distant river and offered Alexander a helmet full of water. Although his mouth was all dry and he was nearly choking with thirst, he gave back the helmet with his thanks and explained that there was not enough for everyone. And if he drank it, then the others would faint. And when his men saw him doing that, they spurred their horses forward and shouted for him to lead them. With such a king, they said they would defy any hardships. No amount of leadership will put things right without two more aspects that I'm going to speak next about. One is discipline and character. So what is discipline? It is a code of conduct for a decent living in society with one another. So who lays it down? The government, the military. We do have our code of conduct in the Navy, but it has always been there since time immemorial, from passed on from father to son, from mother to daughter. Is there in Gita, is there in Quran, Bible, words of Nanak. As a leader, one must be extremely disciplined. One famous line which was taught to us in the military academy was right time, right place, and right rigs. So if you ensure these three things, you are good. Non-punctuality is taken as an act of indiscipline, which is injurious to people and society, and is taken as a very serious offense in the military. One is punished even for being a minute late. So that does not mean that we are inflexible. It is just that we value ours and time of others. It is better to be 5 minutes early than being late. A soldier always needs to appear ready at all times. and the soldier's readiness is measured by how often the soldier is punctual in the given assignments. So by character, I mean here knowing yourself, knowing what you truly are. Whether you're a man or a woman, be a man of character. Be strong character. Duty, honor, country. These three hallowed words dictate what you ought to be, what you can be, and what you will be. They build your basic character. They mold you for future roles as the custodians of the nation's defense. They make you strong enough to know when you are weak, brave enough to face yourself when you are afraid. As a leader, one must have self-confidence, but not egoism. While a platoon of soldiers is wary of going into action with an inexperienced leader, a smart platoon leader can mitigate this problem by seeking instruction and mentorship from the platoon sergeant, a role that non-commissioned officers have embraced since the times of professional armies. Any leader worth his stuff has confidence, but excessive egotism is usually indicative of a lack of assurance. A show of bravado in advance of a mission or the face of the enemy is acceptable. However, an abundance of cockiness is liable to portend a horrible day for all concerned. One very important thing is fostering teamwork. Right from the academy, we are taught one for all for one. So if a cadet makes a mistake, then his entire scorn, the entire team gets punished for that. So the strength of the cable is determined by its weakest shackle. Even if the other links on the chain are strong, the strength of the chain depends on the weakest link. This proverb can be applied to a variety of situations. For example, the performance of each team member is important in a team. It doesn't matter if the team has few star performances, but if there are few who fall behind. So in the context of a team, this proverb could be paraphrased as a team is only as strong as its weakest member. This proverb can also be applied in the context of an organization, a business, and so on. When accomplishing the mission, teamwork is more important than personal recognition. Thus, the famous quote, "There is no I in the team." Today's military often functions in joint operations, which consist of other branches within the service, as well as the sister services like Army and Air Force. Therefore, an experienced leader cannot favor individuals, but must foster cooperation with all team members. Leaders are connectors. Effective leadership in today's complex and rapidly changing world means leaders have to think in terms of partnerships and supporting organizational team members. Don't take the purpose for granted. Inclusiveness is key to solving all the complex problems. Leadership is focusing on not just the results, but how you get to those results. Finally, I would like to conclude today's webinar by saying my last few words. As role models, leaders must lead from the front, display courage to motivate their soldiers. However, it is important to maintain an acceptable level of confidence without it turning into excessive egoism. There is no I in the team, and success comes as a result of the soldiers' trust in the leader and their ability to work together. However, to create unity, leaders must have the determination and decisiveness to overcome challenges they and the units experience. This was all that I had to share for the day. Thank you for listening to me, and always happy to connect with you.
That was fantastic. Thank you so much, Meenakshi. Very snappy as well. It's really not. It's always in you, so it's not gonna leave you. So how you deliver your discussion, how you talk, it's really showing up. All right. So we'd like to entertain questions and insights from attendees and from panels as well. If you'd like to ask or share your opinions and views with regards to the topic. Okay. Checking live. So yeah, we only have one comment from the live so far, and that was from Saji Matthew. Yeah, the very important topics in the present world. Yes, indeed, because there are many trainings and like evolvement in terms of leadership and all that, but those that are being used for a longest period of time and the most effective is not truly visible, mostly. So hearing this from a naval officer would really provide value to those who are starting, like learning how to become a leader, and those who are leaders already as well. So these are very beneficial. And also for the first topic regarding emotional intelligence, it's very underrated, not so much talked about, but definitely I know corporates as well are like training at each and every one in terms of how to communicate, like people skills, but it's not really much developed as for my opinion. It needs to
Yes,
be honed
doctor.
further. Yeah. All right. So I do not see any questions or any interactions or queries so far. So it might I that actually implies that it's being delivered clearly and understandably, and nothing further to discuss in terms of those matters. So thank you so much, really, for those knowledge and incorporated with your deep experience in that area. That's like really a treasure, because information is everywhere, but information with experience firsthand of those will definitely give a different value. So we thank you for that, speakers, and then we can conclude for today, for today's session, definitely. So acknowledging your efforts and your time and dedication, sharing, like giving back to the community. We thank you so much, Jesse and
Thank
Meenakshi,
you.
for joining us today. And for those who have attended, thank you so much for your time as well. And for those who have watched live and will be watching this, thank you so much for also watching, and hope you share this to others as well, so they can get the gist of this information. And we hope to see you again next Wednesday, the same time. So that's 12 p.m. to 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And we will have two new topics with two new speakers that will be with us. So again, we bid you goodbye for now, but we will see you again next Wednesday. Thank you so much,
Thank
everyone,
you.
and keep safe as always.
Thank you. Thank you,
Thank you.
John. Thank you, John.
Thank you, Jesse. Thank you.
Thank
And actually, thank you.
Thank you, John.